Hello, babies. Welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. This is the safe space that we set oppression ablaze because we understand that a better system and a better world is not only possible, it is outright necessary. And more importantly, it's doable. We can totally do this shit. We can remake the world in the way that we know can benefit everybody. And it's important that we hurry up and get to work. And there's a lot of people out there doing that work, and shout out to all them. And we just here to observe and commiserate and try to help each other through these very trying times as we are here in 21st century, late stage capitalistic America. Yes, it is in its final stages. Is it in its death throes? Let's try to drown that bitch and see if we can hasten this thing along. I'd like to welcome everybody. Thank you guys so much for showing up. We appreciate you so much. Shout out to everyone that is in here that came through. What's going on, Infinite Content? We got Valley Girls up in the house. Of course, Latif is in here. Ursula is in here. Afra is in here. Anna Hart is in here. All of my people are here. Esther is here. Who else we got in here? Did I shout out my niece Alicia? What's up, Nat? Come through, everybody. We want to see you. You, Akata, thank you so much for being here, bruv. We appreciate y'all. We appreciate y'all. Make some room, everybody. We got plenty of space, and come on in and get comfortable. It's going to be a fun hour, So we've got a lot of things on deck I want to talk about. I promise today we actually are going to talk about the Minneapolis Teachers Strike, which has entered its second week. Kids are off from school in Minneapolis as the Minneapolis Teachers Union is with the shits, all the way with the shits. They said, you know what? The last time that the teachers in Minneapolis went on strike 50 years ago, that strike lasted 3 weeks. So I think these teachers are dug in and prepared to go the distance, as it were, to affect systemic change within Minneapolis public schools. So we're going to talk about that. We are also going to discuss, I had to talk about Jussie Smollett. I feel a little robbed that I didn't get to talk about Jussie Smollett on Friday. And to me, Jussie Smollett's saga dovetails with what Brittney Griner is experiencing, in the fact that these are high profile Black people who are getting the regular the regular N-word treatment, which at the end of the day, the regular N-word treatment awaits us all, right? We can have a class discussion about bourgeoisie Blacks maybe get the racisms a tiny bit less than middle class and poor Black folks. But what Jussie Smollett is getting right now is outright the N-word treatment. And the fact that Brittney Griner's story still does not lead the news. I mean, this should be a daily fucking story, not only on mainstream media outlets, but sports outlets. Why is Brittney Griner's detention in a hostile state to the United States not being reported upon daily? And why are journalists not hammering the State Department and the Biden administration about what they are doing to get Brittney back? So I want us to talk about that a little later. We're also going to discuss, by the way, and I laugh to keep from crying. Like, sometimes I laugh at insensitive shit, or I laugh at inappropriate things, not because I actually find them funny or comical or humorous. I laugh to prevent myself from sobbing, from weeping, from becoming a heap on the floor, right? So with the speed that only the United States would provide aid to another white country, Ukraine has got another $13 billion coming its way, courtesy of the United States Congress and the Joe Biden administration. And gang, where the fuck was that speed when 1 million people plus in the United States were dying of COVID, who were getting evicted by the millions, who were hungry in food lines, lined up for miles? Where was all this assistance at the speed at which they were able to provide it for Ukraine? Why come none of that was coming to us? Why come none of that was coming to us? And why is it that we continue in our tax dollars, in our willingness to show up to work, right? Why do we continue to defend and basically support U.S. global military hegemony, right? With our money, bitch, give me my fucking money. Like, run me my shit as I have paid into the system. Run us the things that we are entitled to. I will call them entitlements. Yes, goddammit, universal health care is a fucking entitlement. The police not in our communities with billion-dollar budgets, it's a fucking entitlement. Public schools being up to snuff is a fucking entitlement. God damn it. So anyway, I'm going to get into all that in just a bit. Like I said, shout out. What's up, Courtney? Courtney's in here. Lewis Kang is in here. I'm so glad. I love it when y'all are here. I get Shirley. Hello, baby girl. Oh my gosh. It just makes me so happy that y'all show up and listen to me rant. Let's call it a fucking rant. Well, speaking of a rant, let's actually get off on an interesting foot. Okay, this is not politics, even though of course everything is politics, but this is more of a cultural thing that we sort of need to talk about. So I'm sure you have seen on social media, because that's really the only way you would have seen it, because don't nobody watch the goddamn Critics' Choice Award. It's on television. Sorry, all of my Hollywood buffs, ain't nobody watching that shit. I hate to break it to you, right? So the Critics' Choice Awards, obviously we are in Hollywood Awards season, and we've had the Screen Actors Guild Awards and the Critics' Choice Awards, and it's all leading up to the Oscars and da 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 da. Well, the woman who won Best Director for a movie, though I ain't seen this fucking movie. I'm about to even tell y'all the movie title all incorrect. I know it is a dog in the title, just to give you the level of how much I care about this, about her specifically, and by extension, her work after the shit that she talked at this fucking award show. So Jane Campion won Best Director at the Critics' Choice Awards. And if you have not seen this clip floating around social media, then please let me be the first to show you. So during the middle of her speech, she took an opportunity to really punch down on Venus and Serena Williams, who obviously have a film in contention with the biopic about their dad, starring Will Smith, called King Richard. Venus and Serena were very instrumental in getting this story brought to the big screen. So obviously they have been participating in the Hollywood award season. And Venus and Serena were in attendance at the Critics' Choice Award. And I want you guys to take a listen at this goofy ass white lady. Peak! Oh my God! Peak white women's. I mean, Jesus Christ. She went so hard with the caucasity. I said, oh my God. But anyway, I want you guys to check it out. So this is Jane Campion during her her acceptance speech for winning Best Director at this year's Critics' Choice Awards. De audio. Este tarde. You like my Spanish? It's lovely, isn't it? It sounds so authentic with my
give my love out to my fellow, the guys. The nominees. And you know, Serena and Venus, you are such marvels. However, you do not play against the guys. Like I have to.
Oh, okay. So, because I can hear it in my earphones. Wonderful. All right, guys, give us a couple of seconds here. We're trying to get our stuff together. Shout out to Queen P in the house. Shout out to David Silberg. Thank you, David Silberg. Your powers of deduction no bounds, good man. You know I'm fucking with you, David. But anyway, y'all. So while we waiting for that to get queued up, you can basically take away from the fact that, do I have to say not all white feminists? I don't like to do those disclaimers on my show here. I don't like to do not all white people and not all men, because to me that shit should go without fucking saying. Of course, not all white men or not all white people, not all men, not all white feminists feel the need to make a distinction between their accomplishments and the accomplishments of non-white women, right? Are we ready for that clip today? Alrighty. So, when this happens, and it happens quite a bit, there's a number of things going on, right? So we're dealing with Black erasure, trying to erase the lived experience of Venus and Serena Williams, two poor, dark-skinned Black girls from Compton, California, trying to make it. And not only make it, but be superior, be global champions for a sustained amount of time in a very rich, white, elitist sport. Okay. Now, you can deduce that Jane Campion in the clip, which we'll be getting to shortly, you know, she talks about how Venus and Serena are marvels, but they don't have to play against the guys. Number one, that's false on a couple of different levels, right? So on its surface, yes, Venus and Serena not only have played against men, but they've defeated men. When they play mixed doubles, they are two-time Grand Slam champions, okay? So they have literally played against the guys and been victorious. So, bitch, what the fuck are you even talking about? The next part about the shit is that, you know, white women's struggles are not Black women's struggles. And even the most marginalized white woman has immense privilege over a comparably classed Black woman. There's no question about that. Our struggles are not the same. Our oppression is not the same. And let's be real, okay? During the ongoing times that we live in white supremacy and patriarchy and anti-blackness and all that, you know what I'm saying? White men got a guaranteed nigga riding shotgun, shorty. Listen, white women are always going to be riding shotgun. They're going to be that 96 Bonnie and Clyde, look for me, lost in the whirlwind, 96 Bonnie and Clyde, me and my girlfriend doing white supremacy when we ride. That is a guarantee. Make no mistake about that. And yes, have white women been marginalized on the basis of their gender by white men? Yep, but not by us. Not it was not of black people's nor black women's doing. So and another kind of interesting note about Jane Campion, she is not American. Apparently she is New Zealander, which, you know, colonizer. Let's not make no mistake about that. But of course she is classed, she is privileged. Her parents apparently come from stage and theater. Her mother's apparently some sort of heiress, allegedly. And I'm sure the brown and indigenous folks of New Zealand, and especially the are those the Maori people in New Zealand? Maybe I have that mistaken. I think I do have mistaken. The indigenous folks in New Zealand, I'm sure the women amongst them would have a thing or two to say about Jane Campion having to also fight against the guys. And circling back to Venus and Serena, for those of us who are old enough to remember when Venus and Serena first turned pro, when they first began their stellar and storied careers as literally the best tennis players, women's tennis players to ever grace the court. See, I remember when Venus and Serena was rocking the beads, right? I remember all the racist shit that white people, men, women alike, would say to them. All the objectification and dehumanization of their bodies, of their appearance, of their skin tone, of their African features. White women was right there doing that shit, okay? And let me single out one of the white bitches, and I'm sorry, shout out to all our white bitches, by the way. Shout out to our white bitches. What's up, Freddie French? What's up, Northern Witch? We appreciate y'all. We're not talking about y'all. We're talking about them fucking Karen ass white bitches. Y'all down with us. Y'all down with the brown over here. But anyway, one of the white bitches that Venus and Serena used to beat the shit out of on a regular basis, and I could tell her motherfucking ass was a racist, and I think she was from Switzerland. Her name was Martina Hingis. And specifically, when Serena used to whip Martina Hingis's ass, that bitch, I don't know what the Swiss word for nigger is, but Martina Hingis was calling Serena specifically all kinds of Europeanized racial slurs under her breath. And I bet you she even called it to her face. But because Venus and Serena were trained so well into not necessarily single out people who were targeting them for racism and for misogynoir, I don't know if they have said that aloud. But when Serena and Venus do finally write their memoirs, I hope they name fucking names. I hope they name fucking names. Wonderful. Okay, guys. So this is the Jane Campion clip from the Critics' Choice Awards. This is a clip of her acceptance speech. And she just took a moment. She couldn't resist. Just couldn't resist to take a little kick at some black women who are amazing. Let's take a look at that.
Give my love out to my fellow, the guys. The nominees. And, you know, Serena and Venus, you are such marvels. However, you do not play against the guys. Like I have to. Kirsten Dunst.
Alrighty. Can we fix it so I can hear it? Because I didn't hear anything, but that's cool as long as you guys were able to see it. So there is that from Jane Campion, and a lot of people on social media are taking justified umbrage with what she said. But again, this is an opportunity, I say, for our white John Brown Brigade members to take that microphone, okay? And you need to check these bitches. You need to check that shit early. You need to check that shit often, okay? Because it was actually no need for that. And if you guys could see, did y'all see the look on Venus's face? And black women in the chat, how many times has one of your white co-workers or one of your white colleagues said something so fucked up and inappropriate, and you literally being in shock that it was said to you and in front of you, just had to just give that glazed over look like, did this bitch really just fucking say this shit? Did she just say this shit? And in the interest of remaining professional and giving, a presentation of good decorum to make sure that, no one stereotypes you as being the angry black woman for checking that shit in the moment. You just got to stand there with the glazed over look on your face and smile through the fucking racist ass attack that bitch literally could not help herself to get up there and say, okay? Now, when I first saw that, I was like, oh man, time to drag the white feminists. But Twitter was already on it. And I wanted to play this clip that someone put under the replies to that excerpt of Jane Champion's speech. And I had never seen this before. I didn't even know Bill Burr even went like this on white folks, and shame on me for not understanding that we have a race traitor in the comedy industry, and I was not even hip to his shit. Oh, maybe he's not a race traitor. Maybe you guys can tell me better in the chat. But listen to what comedian Bill Burr had to say, not about Jane Campion specifically, but connecting the shit out of white women who automatically put their oppression and their marginalization to the front of everybody else, Let's take a look at that clip, please. All right, there's so much funny about that. First and foremostly, boom, accurate. That motherfucker hit the target in the middle. He was on point with that shit. But the very uncomfortable laughter coming from the audience, like, he not talking about us, is he? Yes, he was exactly talking about you. Shout out to Bill Burr. I did not know. I did not know Cub went hard like that. But yeah, so I know we have a lot of non-black supporters that watch Burn It Down with Kim Brown, that support us, that push us, you know what I'm saying? And I don't even have to tell y'all not to be those people, because I think you guys already know better. There's no way you could be in this space, and I see y'all in Black Power media spaces as well. Like, there's no way that you all specifically could ever go around and talk about your oppression through the lens and comparing it to what black women endured. Like, what that shit did, Jane Campion, that shit that she said was very Rachel Dolezal. I too have been oppressed. Have you? Tell me all about your oppression, Jane. What happened? You didn't get into Yale, and what happened? Your parents only sent you a couple $1,000s a month when you were in film school. Oh, I'm so sorry. Anyway, so there's that. Shout out to Venus and Serena. Whatever your takes about Venus and Serena, present day, we saw them go through their entire struggle. And all the nastiness of white supremacy, global white supremacy, was aimed at them during their most formidable years. So even if perhaps they have an elitist stance about them now, I think we understand where that comes from. You know, the levels of isolation, the levels of racism, the levels of diminishing their greatness. We know, for example, the many times that the tennis governing body has taken punitive action against Serena Williams, literally because she was just fucking more awesome than everybody else. I'm thinking specifically of the French Open during that cat suit controversy. Even though one shit controversial about it, Serena suffers from blood clots. She had pulmonary embolisms, and the compression suit helped to increase her circulation. But because her big, beautiful, black, bodacious body was rocking too hard in that cat suit, baby, white supremacy and the patriarchy punished Serena for that. So let's not act like the Williams sisters' entire experience has not been fraught with misogynoir, with racism, with colorism, with sexism, with classism, all of it. They have faced the gamut. And I assure you, that bitch Jane Campion has not experienced a single crumb of what Serena and Venus have endured. So there's that. That's how I wanted to start off the show. So I'm glad y'all are here. Come on in, everybody. Now, speaking about white supremacy, baby, the incursions that are happening now in Eastern Europe, in Ukrainian territory, and again, I'm trying to be a little deliberate in the way that I word it, because even though it's fuck Russia, right? Fuck Russia, but it's also fuck America, and it's definitely fuck NATO. So I have already said this. I'm rooting for three losers to come out of this battle that is going on right now. We want the empire to lose. Every single one of them empires. Down, bitch. Go down. Stay down. We don't want none of y'all to win nor succeed. But the situation is what it is, right? And so when Europeans, I suppose, and I guess by extension, white North Americans, see white refugees fleeing war zones, dealing with inhumanities being committed against them, then the purse strings open up. Somehow all the asylum deference that Haitians and people from Latin America have been experiencing on the southern border, with their asylum claims being denied, with them having to remain in Mexico while their asylum claims are being processed, even though I know Joe Biden, under public pressure, did allow a number of Haitians in. But that was after the pictures and the video came out of U.S. Border Patrol on horseback, literally whipping Haitian migrants for having the audacity to be alive and trying to seek asylum here in the U.S. Well, when it comes to Ukrainians, it seems as though Congress and the Biden administration are willing to act, baby. Toot sweet, lickety split. They have recently approved, Congress did, over $13 billion in new aid for Ukraine. This comes after the disbursement of $200 million about a week or two ago for Ukraine. And the determination to make sure that Ukraine has everything it needs to defend itself is a little nauseating, especially when you consider the source. And for Joe Biden to get up on his soapbox and say that Ukrainian refugees are going to be welcome here, this in the face of ICE detentions across the country, where migrants from Central and South America remain cooped up, where kids remain in cages, when Haitians were placed on planes and sent back to Port-au-Prince, a place that a lot of them have not been in many years, amidst a raging pandemic and political uncertainty and destabilization in their country. For Biden to roll out the welcome mat for the Ukrainians, let's just say it's telling. Let's just say it's telling. Because I'm not going to say that these refugees do not deserve admittance here. It's not that. It is the priority by which white refugees are given carte blanche. I hate to just pardon the pun, are given carte blanche to come here. And all of a sudden, the American people are very understanding of why the Ukrainians are here. They understand and they're welcoming and they get it. But how come they don't get it when it comes to Haiti? Like, it just boggles, mind-boggling, right? To quote one of my favorite Will Ferrell movies, it's mind-boggling. I can't even explain it. But just to give you a little bit of insight here, as to whom Joe Biden serves and basically whom the American economy serves, because we're seeing this play out in a lot of different ways. I want us to take a look at a clip from Fox News, okay? And this comes from a Florida congressman. His name is Mike Waltz. And Mike Waltz, he's a Republican. He doesn't support Joe Biden. But listen to the bipartisan tone that Mike Waltz struck when it comes to discussing funding military aid for Ukraine. Let's take a look at this.
Well, Sean, Congress is, both Republican and Democrat have been pushing Biden all along on this. We pushed him on the stingers. Bipartisan group went to Ukraine a couple of months ago when the administration was sitting on the stingers. They didn't get them until a week after the invasion. But just last week, we almost doubled the amount of lethal aid authorized as part of the budget. We added another $40 billion to our defense budget. We pushed them on the oil ban. We pushed them on dropping them from the World Trade Organization and their permanent trade status. All of those things would have passed through Congress, but Biden said, no, we want to announce it. And so Pelosi backed off. But we are the ones pushing them. And now we have the Pentagon saying, well, the Ukrainians really don't need air superiority. They really don't need these jets to be able to challenge Russian air superiority to protect their cities, protect their supply convoys.
I'm not buying that.
That's ridiculous. It's a cover. It's a cover because like they're afraid of Putin's escalation.
Listen, guys, the geopolitical wranglings that are happening between Russia, Ukraine, NATO, and the U.S. I know the U.S. is part of NATO, but NATO and the U.S. Y'all understand what I'm saying by that. That shit is decidedly less important to me. What jumped out to me in that clip is that we just authorized $40 billion more in our own military spending. Excuse me. This, while the people of Flint, Michigan are still struggling to have clean water, while we are still cleaning up from category 4 and 5 hurricanes, getting ready for a new hurricane season. This is why, while our infrastructure continues to crumble, while our healthcare system continues to fray at the seams for the amount of stress that has been placed upon it by COVID. As Americans are still facing an eviction crisis and a housing crisis. I mean, $40 fucking billion like that. And then that's on top of $13.6 billion specifically for fucking Ukraine. At some point, you guys, the gauntlet has to be thrown down. And listen, the only thing that I can come up with is that literally, I mean, we have to withhold our money from this government because they continue to spend it in ways that only benefit the military industrial complex, that only seem to benefit the police and prison systems, that only seem to do things to enrich bloated corporations and their bottom lines. Like, as we look at these gas prices, there are people who have done threads about this on Twitter, by the way, and I encourage you to find them because I've seen small takes of this in the mainstream media. But basically, to sum it up, in 2008, when the United States was also experiencing record high gas prices, the cost of oil per barrel was comparable to what it is now. But gas prices 18 plus years ago, how do I do the math? About 15 years ago, when they were at record prices, are at least $1.50 more now, maybe even $2 and some change more now than they were when oil was at a comparable price per barrel. So why is it that the gas prices are exploding in the way that they are now? Quite frankly, because oil and gas companies are robbing us. They are gouging us. And it has to be at some point intentional and coordinated, right? In the sense that here we have record high gas prices that are being exacerbated by at least the propaganda coming out, the Russia-Ukraine thing, because even though the U.S. announced oil sanctions on Russia and is going to stop, we don't import fucking Russian oil over here, bitch. We don't. America fracks way too much. We ain't importing shit from fucking Russia, okay? So knock that out of whomever's rationale as to why gas prices are at the rates that they are. Oh, well, we stopped importing Russian oil. Bitch, we wasn't importing Russian oil like that to begin with. So knock that out. We are being gouged, robbed by BP, by ExxonMobil. Like, they are running the table. They are running it up on us, and the government is allowing it, okay? Joe Biden is allowing it. These little stopgap efforts to tap the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And here in the state of Maryland, Larry Hogan is talking about suspending the state gas tax on gas for 30 days. I'm sorry. What's that going to save people? $10 at the end of the month? Like, miss me with this bullshit. Miss me with this bullshit. We are still very much struggling. This country is in the face and in the wake of COVID. And I hate to even say the wake of COVID because that implies that COVID is over, which, by the way, COVID is definitely not over. But it's amazing to me and unsurprising and disappointing and enraging that Americans still continue to go without, still continue not to have universal health care, still continue to not have a lot of things that comparably moneyed countries have, right? But we are very quick and without even giving it a second thought, unflinchingly, will offer military aid, thereby enriching the bottom lines of Boeing, BAE, Raytheon, or whatever. We just keep the same industries profitable and rich while everybody else struggles. And I don't want to pay taxes for that. I don't want to. I do not want my tax monies to continue to go to that. And I think, honestly, in terms of what our resistance to that can be and what has to be, we understand that the federal government, the IRS, are more inclined to audit poor and middle and working class people for tax irregularities, right, than they are willing to audit the very wealthy. They've even come out and said this, the IRS has, is that they do not have the resources to properly audit the wealthy. So they'll just keep auditing working and poor people because we don't have the means and the resources to fight them, right? So they're going to keep taking from us and paying into this military industrialized system in which we continue to receive the crumbs. So I think the only way that we can honestly resist is to do the general strike. Now, how do we coordinate such a strike? So we have to get everybody in the group text. We have to tell everybody, listen, it's going to be May 1st. Are we going to do a May Day general strike, by the way? Sounds like a plan. I support that if that is indeed the way that we're going. But please keep in mind, y'all, the Biden administration must be held accountable for the ease in which they are willing to help out Ukrainians and not willing to help us out. And Joe Biden actually, I think it was this week or late last week, he addressed the Democratic caucus. And of course, what did he repeat? He said that this midterm election is going to be one of the most important midterm elections of our lifetime. Well, good luck with that, bitch, because you have upheld few to no campaign promises that you ran on in 2020. So if you're expecting us, potential Democratic voters, because y'all know I am not a Democrat, I know a lot of y'all are not Democrats, but if they was on the right time of doing things, then we could be inclined to at least vote for them, right? Because we know that Republicans don't stand with us at all, and Democrats really don't stand with us, but at least they will give us a little bit of lip service and FaceTime to pretend that they do. Before we move along, really quick, I just want you guys to do me a favor if you've not already. Oh, yes. But I just wanted to say this real quick. Do me a favor. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and click subscribe. We would so appreciate that. So we heard from Mike Waltz talk about how basically Republicans and Democrats were in lockstep when it comes to giving Ukrainians support and aid. I'm sorry, what? Where is the anti-war caucus in the Democrats? Or they're quiet? Oh, okay. That's what I thought. Another thing that we have coming down the pike, everybody, is going to be this next COVID variant. Shout out to Dr. Riso. Where's Jonathan Guerrero? Thank you, Jonathan Guerrero. And I think Infinite Content, you might have read me something. And Louis Kang. Louis Kang, I think you all sent messages and tagged and said, Kim, peep this shit. Yes, the BA.2 variant. Now, for what I'm able to ascertain, the BA.2 variant has sparked surges in Asia. There's some Chinese cities experiencing higher rates of COVID. South Korea is experiencing a COVID surge. right now, and a lot of this is being attributed to the the BA.2, which is a sub-variant of Omicron. And actually, I wanted to take a look at this Newsy clip because I think they did a decent job of encapsulating what this next COVID variant could do, and why we in the United States, with every indoor mask mandate lifted everywhere, why, maybe that wasn't the smartest time to do that. maybe now was not the time to start lifting the indoor masking mandate, because we have this BA.2 variant just looming on the horizon. And trust me, everything that Europe experienced as it pertained to COVID, as it pertained to Delta and Omicron, the US got it, and a lot of times we got it worse. So let's take out this Newsy clip giving us a little bit of a primer on the BA.2 variant of COVID.
Indiana hospitalist Dr. Warren Gavin is cautiously optimistic. Right now, he's seeing fewer COVID-19 patients.
As the numbers fall and you get back to doing what you're normally doing, things feel much, much better. But, again, in the back of your mind, you always worry. You worry, hey, are we going to start coming up again? Or, is there going to be another variant?
An offshoot, specifically known as Omicron sublineage BA.2, is creeping up in dominance. In Denmark, it caused a COVID surge. CDC numbers show BA.2 now makes up roughly 11% of sequenced COVID-19 cases in the U.S., up 5 points from the week prior. In New England, it accounts for nearly a quarter of new cases. Early studies show BA.2 is 33% more contagious and more severe in the unvaccinated than its parent Omicron strain. BA.2 can reinfect people recovered from a previous infection, rarely and mostly in unvaccinated young people. It's ripping through Hong Kong and driving up UK cases and hospitalizations. Age and waning immunity also factor in.
That's really worrisome. And historically, UK's never had a wave that US has dodged.
That's epidemiologist Dr. Eric Feigelding. He warned about the pandemic in January of 2020, criticized by some for being too alarmist at the time, but he was right. Now he's sharing his concern about BA.2.
We probably have about 6 weeks or so until we see a surge, given how BA.2 is rising, but it's rising in the underbelly while total cases are falling.
Time will tell if a possible BA.2 wave could resemble the massive Omicron surge from winter. Some health experts worry relaxing masking guidance could help a spread. The latest CDC stats have 90% of the country in areas who don't need a mask. Meantime, the World Health Organization is now recommending boosters, quote, with urgent and broad access. Britain has begun giving a second booster to at-risk groups. About half of eligible Americans have gotten a COVID booster. Back in Indiana, Nurse Teresa Thompson is also mindful.
People can still get sick from it, so I think it's important to still take all the necessary precautions.
Ready for what may come next.
Guys, we've talked about this before on here, and it is petrifying to me that this country and this economy is deliberately ignoring the perils and the mass death and the mass disability that COVID has wrought upon us, okay? And there's a couple things I took away from that package. First of all, for BA.2 to be, I believe, if I heard it correctly, like 33% more infectious and more contagious than Omicron. Omicron was, I believe, when Omicron took hold, it was reported that Omicron was like 70 times more transmissible or more contagious than Delta. So now we have an even more contagious variant on the horizon. You heard the man say about 6 weeks, we can expect BA.2 to be rocking here stateside. So where are we at right now? So we got a couple things coming up that makes me very concerned about the status of the next COVID variant. The other thing that they said in there is that in that Newsy package said that the unvaccinated, like it's more contagious and more transmissible among the unvaccinated. Well, who's still unvaccinated, guys? Kids under the age of 5, okay? And the vaccine that was approved for kids, I believe, 6 to 11, had some problems with efficacy and with long-term protection from COVID, right? So what? What? Sorry, what? Yeah. So, but wait. So as all the indoor masking mandates lifted, we have St. Patrick's Day this week, yeah? Yeah, oh my goodness. It's white folks Juneteenth. They finna turn up big time, okay, on St. Patrick's Day. And not gonna be a mask in sight at the pub. So we got St. Patrick's Day on the 17th. Then a month from that, we have Easter. And the epidemiologists are anticipating BA.2 to be fully entrenched in the US within 6 weeks. Do you think our healthcare system has recovered from the burnout of all of our nurses and all of our doctors and all of our medical support staff? Nope. A lot of those people, a lot of them died. A big number of them left the field because they felt so unsupported. And I really don't think our healthcare system is in any position to be trying to withstand another COVID variant and surge, okay? Not even to mention, okay, I talked about the kids under 5 who are not vaccinated, but what about the number of adults out here who remain unvaccinated, who remain unboosted? I mean, I can't even tell people to go get vaccinated because at this point, Slim, you either gonna do it or you ain't. And if you ain't, I mean, I think you are aware of whatever risk you are taking, and you know what, via con Dios. You know what I'm saying? Infinite Content, thank you for your super chat. Infinite Content says, Kim, don't forget spring break is coming up. Infinite Content. BA.2 about to be running through Panama City, babe. It's going to be running through South Beach. Where else the kids go? What's that island down in Texas? South Padre Island? Oh, show day. Just get out now. Get out now. Get out now. And guys, keep in mind that we are learning more and more about long COVID. Again, let me circle this back to the Ukrainian support that we are offering up to engage in this military conflict. We have not shored our shit up here. Not even close. It's just laughable to me the way that we try to go assist and build up some other shit. And it's like, bitch, do you not see this shithole fucking country of America? Do you not see this shit falling down around us? And I'm telling you, our healthcare system is already not in the best state. Not everybody can even access healthcare, correct? So if we are going to put our healthcare professionals through another COVID surge without doing anything to help stop the transmission, and it's amazing the way that anti-maskers were able to literally just co-opt the entire conversation around COVID, and because the CDC was so feckless and so inconsistent and so blatantly beholden to economic and capitalist interests. I mean, a lot of us have doubts about their recommendations, about what the fuck they say. When the airline CEOs, when the CEO from Delta Airline went and testified in front of a congressional committee and said, hey, 10 days to isolate for our employees who test positive for COVID is too long. Can we cut that to 5? And motherfucking Anthony Fauci and Rochelle Walensky, like in the same week, said, you know what? We're going to cut that isolation period down from 10 days to 5 days because, big business told us so. They told us it's bad for the economy. So we have to set aside the interest and priorities of public health and be beholden to the interests of capital. See, aren't you guys happy that you have confidence in American institutions? Jesus Christ, help me out. By the way, it's going to be more integral for us as regular people to continue to mask indoors. I don't give a fuck if you Ryan Coogler at the Bank of America in goddamn Atlanta, you better keep that goddamn mask on. I don't give a fuck how suspicious you look. And see, that's the bullshit. The people who are going to continue to be masking are the ones who are going to get looked at sideways by the community. Not saying, well, we'll say by community, by society, right? Like people going to be looking at you as if you crazy, as if you have the problem for either wanting to protect yourself from COVID or to protect immunocompromised and disabled people in our community from being infected and to stem the transmission of this highly infectious disease of a global pandemic that we are not out of. Do not let capitalism try to tell you different. And for the Biden administration and for the mainstream media at large, guys, the Ukrainian situation has hijacked everything else, happening in this country. And there's a lot of nefarious and bad shit being flown under the radar because the eyes of the country are so preoccupied with fucking Ukraine. It's really, really, really troublesome. It's really troublesome. Guys, do us a favor if you have not already. Follow us places around the internet at BIDWKB. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram at that. Shout out to Northern Witch who is holding us down on Twitch. Shout out Twitch. I just discovered that people can actually play music on Twitch. So I think that could be my foray into doing more things beyond this broadcast on Twitch, because if I can play music, then that'll make me happy, because I can't be talking about this politics shit all the goddamn time, because this shit is depressing. Okay, shit is depressing. It is depressing living in end-stage capitalism and being Black in capitalism, period. And speaking of capitalism, let's talk about the resistance to neoliberal policies coming out of Minneapolis. And Minneapolis, credit to the Midwest is. You know what the Midwest is? Young and restless, and next these niggas might snatch your necklace, and next these niggas, like Midwest. I have so much respect for the people of the Midwest, because the people of the Midwest are with the shits. And we have seen that from even before 2020 and what happened to George Floyd. Minneapolis was burning police precincts down before then. So shout out to Minneapolis. And we're going to give, by extension, a shout out to the Minneapolis public school teachers who have now entered, I think this is day 6 of their strike. They have stopped their labor. They said, we ain't coming back into their classroom until we get this shit together with the Minneapolis public school system. So what I would like for us to do, let's hear directly from some of the teachers and some of the ESPs, the educational support professionals, that are also demanding fair living wages for their labor. And what these people are being paid is absolutely horrendous. Tunde, if we could cue up C2 for me, please. So while the teachers are on strike, obviously there is no school. I'm sure parents in Minneapolis are thrilled about that. But it does appear as though the teachers have quite a bit of support in their community. Alicia, chirp in here in the chat, darling. Let us know what they talk about in Minneapolis. Are the parents mad, or the parents understand? I am not Kim West, Afra. I don't know what happened to Kanye. That was my nigga back in college, and then that nigga, I don't know what happened to that nigga. But anyway, let's take a look at this report done by the good people at More Perfect Union. And shout out to the people also of Unicorn Riot, the independent media outlets that have been covering the Minneapolis public school teacher strike, which has now entered its second week. Let's take a look.
It's very hard to live off of the money that I get from Minneapolis public schools. I do work 2 additional jobs.
I've heard stories about ESPs living out of cars. I've heard stories about ESPs working 3 jobs.
I've just come up on my 5th anniversary. I am at entry-level wages. Currently, it's $19.83 an hour.
Target, we just hear now that they're starting off at $24 an hour. Like, I've been here 10 years and I don't even make $24 an hour.
How do you live on $24,000 a year? What the ESPs are looking for and the teachers are supporting them is a living wage.
We're on strike for safe and stable schools. We're on strike for systemic change. We're on strike for our students, the future of our city, and the future of the Minneapolis public schools.
We can't have our ESPs living below the poverty line. What are you willing to do? We can't have educators having 2 and 3 jobs. What are you willing to do? We can no longer stand for disrespect.
$13.6 billion to Ukraine in record speed. Meanwhile, the people who are entrusted with the education and the molding and the nurturing of America's children are barely paid a living wage. People living in cars, people having to assume 2 and 3 jobs. These people are teachers. They are educational support professionals. Don't ever believe the myth about American exceptionalism that America gives a fuck about its kids. America never gave a fuck about the kids, ever gave a fuck about the kids. And if you don't believe me, check the scoreboard, baby. Check that scoreboard. Because the score says police and military got all the points, and kids and poor people and marginalized people got negative points on that scoreboard. But do me a favor, if you're interested in supporting the striking teachers, go to the Minneapolis Federation of Teachers. I think it's local 59, MFT 59, and I think they're actually on Twitter at MFT 59. They do have a strike fund that they are asking people to contribute and support to. As you can imagine, the striking teachers and support professionals are obviously not being paid during this time, so an already dire financial position for them has been made even more dire because of the sacrifice that they are willing to make, because of the stand that they are willing to take in order to help, number one, their students, because one of the things that they are advocating for is more mental health access for students. And I'm sorry, like all the cries about why the kids can't wear masks because it's affecting their mental health and their emotional well-being, and they can't see their teachers and their classmates smile at them. Well, bitch, run the school some fucking money to help the children deal with the mental health stresses that this entire country has been dealing with throughout the pandemic. But even before then, poverty is stressful. Poverty is traumatic. Lack of access to proper educational materials in your school as teachers and students and parents is also traumatic. And we also need to reassess, you all. This is what pisses me off really the most about everything that happened during the pandemic, and then the way that Ukraine has been, Captain Save-A-Hode. I don't know how else to say it. The way that Joe Biden put on his Captain Save-A-Hode outfit, his whole cape and uniform, and is flying to the aid of Ukraine in record speed. Working people and poor people in this country have been suffering mightily for a very, very long time. And the pandemic just helped to exacerbate that, right? Not being able to afford housing, being able to work a full-time job and make a living wage and keep a roof over your head and be able to afford gas in the tank, food on the table, childcare for your family. The only way that you can be at work is if you can afford childcare. I mean, like all the shit that could help people is going to the military budget, or it's being allocated in the police budget. We are breaking, y'all. The society is breaking, and we are watching it break, and they are breaking us. So that's why I don't root for America. America deserves to fail. America deserves to fail and fail fucking mightily, because it has failed us. It has failed our parents, our grandparents, our children, like this country has failed us continuously. And it doesn't deserve our support. It doesn't deserve to continue to exist in its current state. That's why the pandemic was so frustrating to me, because we saw in so many ways in which accommodations can be made. You can work from home. You don't have to jeopardize your health commuting back and forth to work under tremendously stressful conditions and amid skyrocketing gas prices. You can stay at home. Your kids can learn from school, learn from home. Like the amount of pollutants and greenhouse gases in the environment can go away if we reduce our amount of travel via cars and airplanes, etc. And we saw that the world could actually possibly turn the corner. But capitalism said, no, the hellscape. Y'all must return to the hellscape. The hellscape is normal, okay? Us doing things to actually improve the lives of individuals and the lives and the condition of our environment, that's the abnormal. That's fucked up. That's what we can't have. We have to have the capitalist hellscape. That's the normal that they're insisted that we remain to. Let's see. It's 6 o'clock. Let me move this along because there's a couple things I want to get to. This is important shit. Okay. Now, I want to continue to uplift the name and the plight of WNBA star Brittney Griner. Brittney Griner, the way that we are seeing tremendous amounts of indifference towards Brittney Griner's situation is part and parcel why I am trying to say something. If you could pop up D5 for me, Tunde. I was watching Meet the Press. I hate watch Meet the Press every Sunday. It's a holdover from when Tim Russert used to host Meet the Press. Tim Russert, a journalist we have not seen his equal on Meet the Press since Tim Russert died, okay? Everyone who has hosted Meet the Press after Tim Russert, ass, booty, ass. They have been terrible. And Chuck Todd continues to hold up that terrible mantle of State Department talking point journalism, if you even want to call it that. So this past episode of Meet the Press on Sunday, Chuck Todd had Joe Biden's national security advisor on. Don't ask me his name. I don't know that nigga's name. I know it wasn't Blinken. I know Blinken is the Secretary of State. It was not Blinken. It was the Joe Biden's national security advisor. Random white man, fucking name unimportant, okay? So Chuck Todd's asking him about all this Ukraine shit and, and then he even threw in some Venezuela questions in there. What's up with Venezuela? They letting out U.S. prisoners? Are we going to start negotiating, getting Venezuelan oil back on the global market? Are we going to lift sanctions? And we can talk about Russia, Ukraine. This nigga motherfucker did not ask one goddamn question about Brittney Griner. He didn't ask one fucking question about Brittney Griner. Now, to be fair, Brittney Griner is not the only American being held in Russia, I imagine, against her will. There's a couple other Americans over there, but them niggas is like military niggas, okay? They was probably over there doing some shit that they absolutely was not supposed to be doing, and Russia's like, no, nigga, we gonna hold these motherfuckers for a second. Brittney is different, okay? Brittney is not a political figure per se. She is a professional athlete. We have pointed this out on this program. Brittney has been playing basketball professionally in Russia for 7 seasons, okay? Brittney, without a doubt, as a professional basketball player who has traveled the world playing basketball, she is a gold medal winner at the Rio Olympics. I mean, Brittney ain't new to this, okay? And any black person who has ever traveled abroad, you already know. Afra, tell them, you better be on your motherfucking P's and Q's going through everybody's customs, okay? You already know that. The black people, bitch, don't even try to sneak shit in from Canada, okay? like black people got to be way above the board. And there's no doubt in my mind that Brittney Griner was out here traveling above the board. Or I'll even throw Afra's in the chat, by the way. Afra had brought this to my attention last week, that for particular high-profile athletes, sometimes they can get access to things that other people cannot, right? We know Russia does that generally every Olympics, the Russian Olympic Committee. Why? Because Russia been doping the fuck out of its athletes, but that's a whole nother conversation. So what I'm assuming, Afra, don't let me speak for you, correct me if I'm wrong, but what Afra was saying that Brittney, if she was indeed in possession of those hashish cartridges, which I am not convinced that she was, but if she was, it's possible that she had some sort of prior agreement or prior understanding, or it was acceptable for her to do that, right? So we know that when it comes to any sort of issues, especially pertaining to drugs and black people, right? The world and even some people in our community are automatically going to assume the worst. So I wanted to big up the nation's Dave Zirin. Dave, I appreciate Dave Zirin. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say that Dave Zirin is part of the John Brown Brigade, but I think that Dave Zirin is hip to the point where you ain't got to explain a whole lot of racial shit to Dave Zirin, right? Like, maybe he is John Brown Brigade, but I think that, Dave Zirin largely gets it. In this piece that he wrote for The Nation, where he goes into the fact that, yeah, indeed, Brittney Griner is a political prisoner. Now, she may not be being held in Russia based on her own political beliefs. And shout out to She's Black, who was in my comments. She and I, we went back and forth a little bit, but ultimately we agreed that Brittney is not a political prisoner in the sense that she's being held or detained because of her own political beliefs, but because of the geopolitical disputes that are happening proxy-like between Russia and the West. She is unfortunately a pawn who's been caught up in this. And we cannot just assume that because she is a celebrity of sorts, that she is being protected, right? There's no due process in fucking Russia. You feel me? Like, I don't think they sent an attorney to Brittney to apprise her of her rights and all this shit. No, like it's a whole nother ball game over there. And because of the tensions and now increased sanctions imposed upon Russia, led by the U.S., her situation remains that much more perilous. And it galls me that she can't get a fucking question to the national security advisor on Meet the Press, right? You can't even ask about the shit. And I think the silence around what's happening with her is telling in a couple of ways. It is the general indifference towards black women, period, right? Even with, and again, and I have to say this because even within our own community, I have to ask y'all, like, how many people have you had to check? Seriously, like if the topic of Brittney Griner came up amidst, your family, your friends, your peer group, whatever, your co-workers, like how many people did y'all have to check? Like, who was like, well, it was her fault. What was she doing over there anyway? How come she had that weed? Like, I hope y'all checking the shit out of people when they are talking that stupid shit, okay? Because I said this, shout out to Net Freeman and to Latrice. I was on WPFW this morning on Voices with Visions, and go to WPFW.org and listen to my interview because they asked me about this. And I was like, y'all, if all cops are bastards, why the fuck Russian cops ain't bastards, right? If you believe that Metropolitan Police in DC and Baltimore City Police and NYPD and LAPD and Chicago Police Department routinely plant shit and make up shit on people, why the fuck would you automatically assume that Brittney Griner, a noted professional, would be guilty of what she's accused of? I don't believe that shit at all. And I mean, fuck, I might have to do a one-woman protest with a sign that says "Free Brittney Griner" and show up at the goddamn Russian embassy in DC because nobody seems to be talking a lot about this. And that's why, again, I wanted to shout out Dave Zirin. I will even shout out Jemele Hill because Jemele Hill wrote about the shit. And there's not enough noise around this. And so long as we are quiet, her so-called community, as long as we are quiet, they're going to be quiet. The State Department's going to be quiet. There's not an urgency to get Brittney home. And on the other end, I feel for her parents, her siblings, her wife. They have been mute about this. My suspicion is that the State Department is telling them, we're doing all we can, which is bullshit, clearly. Because if you're doing all the fuck you can, Brittney would be home. Anyway. But my suspicion is that they are being instructed not to talk about this publicly, which, in my opinion, does not help Brittney's situation. At some point, her people, her actual people, I can't say that they need to forego diplomacy, but we have to start making some noise around this if we want to see results. So I just wanted to reiterate that it is important to keep Brittney Griner's name and her situation out there. And please correct the narrative. When people start talking sideways and wanting to get on this black woman about what she did and what she should have been doing and why was she, no, check motherfuckers on the spot. Don't even let that shit slide, Slim. Don't even let that shit slide. And moving along to Jussie Smollett. I want to play the clip, and I know you guys have all seen it, and it's okay if you've seen it because everyone has seen it. But his outburst when he was sentenced last week, I am again surprised but not surprised that Jussie Smollett is in jail. Jussie Smollett harmed no one but himself in his career, in his own pockets. So to incarcerate him is undoubtedly racist. It is punitive. And it could be there to intentionally break him down mentally. I want us to take a look, if we could. Tunde, let's look at the clip that was excerpted out, the live portion of when Jussie was sentenced. Woo! They sentenced Jussie to 150 days in jail. What did he get? He got 30 months total felony probation, but then he's supposed to spend that first 150 days in Cook County jail. They sent him to jail. And Cook County ain't no fucking, that ain't no junior jail. That's the real deal fucking jail out there in Chicago. And they sent Jussie Smollett ass right up there. Oh Lord, but I had told y'all before that I thought that Jussie had did this shit, but his reaction is honestly making me reconsider whether or not Jussie actually did this shit. Let's look at the sentencing of Jussie Smollett and then his subsequent reaction and his declarative statements that he is absolutely not suicidal. Let's take a look.
I'm fashioning the following sentence, and here's your sentence. I'm sentencing you to 30 months felony probation, and the probation is going to be to this court. You're going to be allowed to travel wherever you want. You do not have to live in the state of Illinois. You can report by phone. I know that if you're going to try to make a living and do some of the things you do, you may have to go to other places, New York and Los Angeles. You can do those things. You will pay restitution to the city of Chicago in the amount of $120,106. You are fined $25,000, which is the maximum fine. And you will spend the first 150 days of your sentence in the Cook County Jail. And that will start today, right here, right now. Mr. Smollett, though the jury found you guilty and I've sentenced you as I have, you have the right to appeal the findings and rulings of the court or ask your sentence to be modified. To do those things, you need to file a notice of appeal in writing within 30 days. You may also file a motion to modify your sentence, which would have to be filed in writing within 30 days. Anything not stated in those filings are waived for purposes of appeal. You cannot afford lawyers or transcripts. They would be provided free of charge. Do you have any questions?
No, I would just like to say to Your Honor that I am not suicidal. That's what I would like to say.
Okay.
I am not suicidal.
Okay.
I am not suicidal. I am innocent, and I am not suicidal. If I did this, then it means that I stuck my fist in the fears of Black Americans in this country for over 400 years and the fears of the LGBTQ community. Your Honor, I respect you and I respect the jury, but I did not do this. And I am not suicidal. And if anything happens to me when I go in there, I did not do it to myself. And you must all know that. I respect you, Your Honor. I respect your decision. Jail time. I am not suicidal.
Okay.
And then they ended up pulling Jussie out of the courtroom while he was screaming he was not suicidal. Pookie Wood, I see you in the comments. Pookie Wood said he signed the checks. Pookie Wood, I feel you, bro. Like, listen, the shit does not look good. The facts of the case as presented imply that Jussie did in fact do what they accused him of doing. This is where I have an issue, though. We have to consider the fucking source. The source of this is the problem for me. Chicago police are so notorious in fucking people over, right? Do we even need to go through the names of just the people they killed? Adam Toledo, Laquan McDonald, who's my, oh my God, who was the sis that got shot in the head by a cop just randomly? She was out there minding her fucking business, and her name is escaping me. I know you guys know her name, but anyway, Chicago police are notorious for framing people, right? For doing all kinds of unconstitutional, illegal shit to Chicagoans. So that is where my doubt comes in, because for a long time I was like, Jussie did that goofy shit. Sade, he was so adamant in the courtroom, and I know he's an actor. I understand that he's an actor, but dog, that I was convinced. I was convinced. Tunde, if you could pop up that Chicago Sun-Times editorial with Kim Foxx. So, Kim Foxx, you understand, is one of those so-called progressive prosecutors, and I think when you compare her to somebody, let's say like a Marilyn Mosby, Kim Foxx might actually meet that title as much as I suppose a prosecutor could ever be progressive. But she penned an op-ed in the Chicago Sun-Times where she was very critical of this. And let me read you an excerpt, because she says, quote, "At its best, our justice system should make people safer, hold accountable those who seek to harm others, and earn the trust of its citizenry. At its worst, the system can be easily manipulated in furtherance of thinly veiled political agendas." She was very critical of this. And listen to what she says. She says, "As Cook County State's attorney, it pains me deeply to say that." Because she says, "On Thursday, the damaging, costly, and disingenuous criminal prosecution of Jussie Smollett came to an end. And as a Cook County State's attorney, it pains me deeply to say that. In this particular case, our justice system failed. Chicagoans deserve to know how and why it can, and likely will, happen again across the country." And the argument that she makes is that because Jussie, of what he is accused of doing, of hoaxing a hate crime and specifically targeting MAGA folks, she says that because he's being used and his name is being used so politically, that in fact putting him in jail was not doing justice for the city of Chicago. And of course, I would be inclined to agree. How does having anyone behind bars for nonviolent offense, especially when no other persons were harmed, what is the fucking point of putting him in jail? What is the point of putting him in jail? And for Jussie to be let out of the courtroom yelling that I am not suicidal, we're not going to sit here and pretend as though that fear is unfounded. Black people are routinely found dead in jails and penitentiaries across this country every day. Seldom does it make the news because basically people do not care about incarcerated folks. Okay? And Jussie Smollett has privilege on his side, right? He has fame, he has celebrity, he has, a white parent, you know what I mean? He's got money. He's got a very vocal group of supporters that are keeping the spotlight on him. And what I wanted to take away from what Jussie is experiencing is that this is what incarcerated folks routinely experience. This is what people who are dealing with pre-trial detention, those who cannot afford bail or to bond themselves out of jail, this is what they routinely experience, right? You're being held in a cage in inhumane conditions during a pandemic, no less, in which we know that the virus ran amok in jails and penitentiaries across this country. For what? To appease a fucking bunch of racists? If the real issue, as the judge said in his sentencing, because I watched the sentencing, and the judge was nice to Jussie, but when he was not nice, he was not nice. And when I say that he was nice to him, he made it a point to put out his advocacy work. He was like, I actually think that you're a good dude, but I think there's a side of you that's very narcissistic and that was seeking attention. in all of this. And then the judge just went, anyway, he went, he went ham. But I want us to take a look at because the latest about this is that initially Jussie was being held on a psych hold. Let's take a look, Tunde. Let's look at his brother's video first, the Instagram video. Let's look at D4. So this is 3 days ago. Jussie comes from a big family. He has a bunch of brothers and sisters. There's a lot of them. All them Bamas look alike too. So this is Jussie Smollett. This is 3 days ago because the family has been posting updates to Jussie's Instagram page. And this is what Jussie told Jussie's supporters and his fans just a few days ago, but there has already been a development that I'll tell you about after we check out this clip.
So Jussie is currently in the psych ward at Cook County Jail. What's very concerning is that there was a note attached to his paperwork today and put on the front of his jail cell saying that he's at risk of self-harm. I want to just make it clear to folks that he is in no way, shape, or form at risk of self-harm. And he wants to let folks know that he is very stable, he is very strong, he is very healthy and ready to take on the challenge that ultimately has been put up against him. This is not right. This is completely lack of justice. It's angering, it's an outrage, but he ultimately knows what he needs to do. So we want to make sure that folks understand that, you know, whatever inside Cook County Jail what assumptions they may be making. I don't know why they even have him in a psych ward. We still have not gotten clear answers there and why he's even in a psych ward. And they've recently added to his documentation that he's at risk of harming himself. That is absolutely not true. So please make sure y'all are spreading facts. The media is going to report a lot of false information. And we really need our people, the people who support us, to continue checking folks and making sure that that false information does not go unchecked. So on top of that, if folks could really continue reposting things, there's been a post from my page, from Jake's page, from Jazz's page, from Journey's page, all around the hashtag Free Jussie hashtag. If you could repost that, repost similar images, make your own images, always just include the hashtag Free Jussie. And we think it's best if you tag Cook County Jail along with it. We're really just trying to make sure we can get as much engagement and attention on this injustice as possible.
That was one of Jussie Smollett's siblings, Kev Z 24/7. You ain't shit. Kev Z laughed at the man name being Jockey. Jockey and Jussie. Hey man, I know a lot of biracial kids with all kinds of names. So we're gonna let that slide. We're gonna let that slide. And listen, I am concerned about Jussie Smollett, as I am all of our people that are behind the wall. But again, his celebrity is shining the spotlight on how dangerous it is for Black folks who, let's not even talk about the fact that Jussie is an out gay Black man, right? I mean, I'm sorry, you think people are not out there or in there in Cook County Jail actively trying to harm Jussie Smollett? You think that the police perhaps may not have put a hit out on Jussie in some way? I mean, I know the shit sounds out there in left field, but we're talking about the Chicago Police Department. We're talking about the American law enforcement system. Niggas have ended up dead in very strange and dubious and suspicious circumstances. And the fact that the seed has already been planted that he is so-called possibly risk for self-harm, that's crazy. But I wanted to take a look at a package because Jussie's people has already filed an appeal. And again, this is the privilege that I'm talking about. I mean, he has lawyer money, right? He got money to get out of jail. They just won't let him out of jail. They just won't let him out of jail. Let's take a look at this package from WGN 9 News in Chicago.
I need him out of jail. An impassioned plea for release from 44-year-old JoJo Smollett, the older brother of Jussie Smollett. The former Empire star has begun serving his 150-day sentence at the Cook County Jail after a jury convicted him for lying to police about being a victim of a hate crime. His attorney filed an emergency motion to either stay his sentence or set bail. Attorney Nenye Uche argues threats on social media, quote, no doubt reflects the hatred and wish for physical harm towards Smollett, which he may experience during incarceration. In addition, he says, while Smollett is in protective custody, it really means he's in, quote, solitary confinement, a situation which could have extraordinary damage on his mental health.
And when you convey the risk next to the reason that he's there, there's no reason for him to be in prison.
The family released a recorded racist and homophobic phone threat sent anonymously, claiming someone obtained the number from the jail. A statement from the Cook County Sheriff's Office says Smollett's safety is a primary concern and encourages his family to report threats to police. A frustrated mayor also responded to the latest events in the Smollett case.
And I hope that there will be a moment in his life, and maybe over the course of the next now 140 plus days, that he will have a moment of reflection and regret for what he has done, and at some point come to accept responsibility for the crime that he committed.
The mayor also said she hopes the city can get restitution from Smollett for the resources that were, quote, wasted investigating the fake crime. Jackie Bang, WGN News.
I cannot stand a brown-nosing ass law and order bitch. Nobody asked you for all that, Lori Lightfoot. At the end of the day, basically what you're saying is that you agree with the incarceration of a non-violent person, a person who didn't do anything wrong physically, financially, emotionally, or otherwise to anybody else but himself. You encourage that incarceration because what? That's the only way people learn, huh? Let's be clear. So the amount in which Jussie has been ordered to pay restitution, which listen, Jussie was making $2 million a season in Empire. And I don't doubt for a fact that he probably spent a huge part of his money on his legal defense without question. But guess what? He got $130 left to pay that little shit that the Chicago Police Department talking about. He could have, if he was white, he would have been able to pay that fucking fine and that restitution and gone the fuck home. But because black people need discipline, because black people need incarceration, because the only way to deal with black people, even moneyed black people, is punitively through the criminal justice system and with incarceration. 150 days is unconscionable for what he is accused of doing. And again, I was pretty firm on his guilt or his culpability. And now I don't know. Now I don't know. But a quick update, because Jussie Smollett on Jussie's Instagram page informed his followers, maybe this was yesterday, that Jussie has been released from his psych hold, okay? But he's still in protective custody, which is solitary confinement, which we all know has a very detrimental effect on incarcerated folks' mental health. I mean, if you're on lockdown 23 hours a day, under, I would assume, are shitty conditions in Cook County Jail, which, by the way, Google Cook County Jail suicides or Cook County Jail deaths, and you will get a smattering of articles from 2019, 2020 about jail suicides, about inmates being found dead under suspicious circumstances. Jussie's family has every right to be concerned about his safety, okay? And whether or not you think that he did that shit or he didn't do that shit, I think we can agree that he don't deserve to be in jail for that shit, yes? We all agree that if Jussie was white, Jussie would not be in jail for this shit, yes? Okay? And we can agree that just by virtue of his celebrity, by virtue of him basically being convicted for lying to police, the police have it out for Jussie. And he's not safe as a result. He's out and gay, incarcerated. He's not safe. he's not safe. So just keep Jussie and Brittney front of mind and just think about what they're enduring. But then think about those people who do not have the notoriety of Jussie and Brittney. And again, just look at the indifference that Jussie and Brittney are getting, right? So just know the level of apathy that our folks who don't have names, who don't have money, who don't have access to lawyers and good defense and bail money, just know how they being treated, okay? So anyway, I'm going to let you guys go. Do me a favor. Get up tomorrow morning. Come hang out with me and the crew of the Remix Morning Show over on Black Power Media at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central. I guess, what's that? 5, 6, 8, no, I don't fucking know. I guess that'd be 5 a.m. Yes, 5 a.m. Pacific. I got to do my maths. You know, my maths is not all that great. Tomorrow morning on Black Power Media for the Remix Morning Show. It's always a good time. Had by all. Shout out to Kalanji Chongo. What's up, Dr. Jared Ball, Kamal Franklin, Jacqueline Lukebon, and of course the Ear Doctor. The Ear Doctor. So we look forward to that, gang. I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for rocking with us and bearing with us. We had some technical difficulties on Friday. We have moved past them. So we will see you back here on Friday for the next. Oh, wait. Shout out to Lateef and Tasia. Thank you guys for your super chat support. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Who else? Oh, you guys hit us on Cash App. Shit. Where's my phone? I didn't even hear the Cash App thing going on. Thank you guys for your Cash App support. I appreciate that. And on behalf of Tunde and Molly, we want to thank you guys for watching the show. Please don't forget that COVID is still out here jumping on people. BA.2 is going to be here by Easter. So I need y'all to move accordingly and tell the others, man, keep your mask on when you going inside and try to keep the baby safe as long and as much as you possibly can. We will see y'all later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.